Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com. Today we're going to make chocolate fudge cookies. The outside of this cookie is really shiny and cracked, yet when you break one open you will find it really soft and fudgy inside. And I really love the intense chocolate flavor of this cookie, and that is because the batter contains lots of melted dark chocolate. In fact, you will need 1 pound, that's 450 grams, of dark chocolate. Now you can use either a semi-sweet or a bittersweet chocolate. Just use a good quality, one that you enjoy just eating on its own. And it will need to be coarsely chopped. Now you can do that on a cutting board with a sharp knife, or you could even just put it in your food processor and process it. And then put it in a heat-proof bowl, along with 1/4 cup, that's 4 tablespoons or 57 grams of butter. You can use either salted or unsalted. And I like to have it at room temperature and then just cut it into pieces so it melts a little faster. And then just put your bowl over a saucepan of simmering water, and then just let it melt until it's nice and smooth. Okay, our chocolate is now all melted. So just remove it from the heat and just put it aside, because we want to let that cool to room temperature. And then now we'll start the batter. So if you have an electric stand mixer like I do, just use a paddle attachment, or you could just use an electric hand mixer with a large bowl. Now this batter is a little different from most cookie batters. Usually what you do is you just beat the butter with the sugar and then add the eggs and the flour. This batter is more like a chocolate torte or a sponge cake, in that we're going to beat the eggs with the sugar first. So you will need 4 large eggs and have them at room temperature. So what I do is about a half hour before I'm about to start, I just take the eggs out of the refrigerator and just leave them on the counter to warm up a bit. So just put that in your mixer, along with 1 3/4 cups, that's about 350 grams of granulated white sugar. And now we're going to beat this on high speed until it's really thick and pale yellow, kind of like whipped cream. And that's going to take, depending on your mixer, somewhere around 5 minutes. Okay, so this is what you're looking for. You can see it's a very pale yellow, and see how it's very thick. And when it kind of goes back into ribbons, sits on the surface for a second, and then disappears into the rest of the batter. So that's what you're looking for. So now we're going to just beat in 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla extract. Try to use the pure, it's a lot better than the imitation ones. Okay, so now for the rest of our ingredients. We're going to add the chocolate next, but then after that we're going to add 1/2 cup, that's about 60 grams, of cake flour. Now, if you don't have cake flour, you could just use a plain white flour. And then to the cake flour, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder. That'll give our cookies just a little rise. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of either an instant espresso powder or an instant coffee. Now, that'll just give you a little bit of a coffee flavor. You could add more if you like a stronger coffee flavor, or you could just leave it out if you don't like coffee. And then just whisk that together. As you can see, this is like a chocolate torte in that there really isn't, for the amount of batter, there is just a little bit of flour. Just give it a little bit of texture. And then we're going to fold in more chocolate, 1 cup, 240 milliliters of dark chocolate chips, or I have some chunks here. I'm going to add 1 cup, 240 milliliters of white chocolate chips, and then 1 cup of chopped nuts. Now I'm using walnuts here. You could use pecans, almonds, hazelnuts, whatever you want. If you want to toast the nuts, just put them in a 350 degree Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius oven for about 8-10 minutes, just until you start to smell the nuts and they turn a little light brown, and then let them cool and then chop them coarsely. Now, if you want to vary this, if you would like to add maybe some toffee bits or butterscotch chips or maybe milk chocolate, replace that. If you want to add some dried fruit, you don't want to add, you just kind of mix and match. Maybe I haven't tried this, but I would think, say, some mini marshmallows would be very good, kind of make a Rocky Road type cookie. So just have fun with that and experiment. So now back to our batter. So our chocolate has now melted and cooled. We want it nice and cool because we don't want to add a hot chocolate to our batter. So just make sure, touch it and make sure it's cool. And then I'm just going to add that to the batter. Okay, and just beat this in on slow speed just until it's all mixed in. Okay, go. Just make sure. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this to a larger bowl so you can really see what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to make sure that chocolate's all mixed in. I'm just using a rubber spatula. You could use a whisk as well if you'd like. So just make sure that chocolate's all mixed in there. And then I'm going to add the flour. Just gently do it. We don't want to deflate. We beat a lot of air in the eggs, so we don't want to deflate that too much. And then when it's almost mixed in, then start adding all of your other good ingredients. These would be really nice to give as gifts. They're so unusual in the way they look and their taste. A nice treat for people. Okay, so there we go. Now this, as you can see, is a little soft to form into cookies. So what we're going to do is just cover it and put it in the fridge. Now, depending on your fridge, it could take a half hour, to a couple hours. You could even do it overnight. But just until it's firm enough that we can form it into cookies. So we're now ready to make our chocolate fudge cookies. So preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. And then line a baking sheet with a piece of parchment paper. And then what I like to do is make circles, so I can form the cookies into the exact same size for everyone. So what I do is take like either a 3 to 3.5 inch round cookie cutter, which is like about 9 centimeters, and then just use a pencil or a pen, just trace around. And then you can see I have 6 circles here, and then just flip your paper over and then you can still see. That's a good guide. I mean, once you kind of get used to the exact size, because you want everyone the same size, you don't have to do that, but that's for the beginner, that's a good idea. So then, this is our batter. I just chilled it for maybe half an hour. So as you can see, it's kind of dulled, and when I press it, it's still a little soft, but it's firm enough now to form into cookies. So I'm using a quarter cup ice cream scoop, 60 milliliters. If you don't have one of these, you could just use a quarter cup, 60 milliliter little measuring cup. And then just, so as you can see, it's still a little soft. So just nice, generous quarter cup. Just try to put it in the center of that circle. As you can see, these are going to make monster cookies. I mean, you could always make them smaller if you want, but we're making the large ones. And then have a little cup with some water, and just kind of just get your hands a little damp, and then we're just going to press this down into about the guideline of your circle. And wipe your hands off as you need to. Okay, so baking time. This is really critical for this cookie. We don't want to over bake them because then they'll be dry. What we want is what you're looking for is the outside to be set. It's still shiny, but you'll see cracks form. Just start to form on the top of the cookie. So depending on, like, when you just chill the dough a little, like I did for half an hour, I'm going to say somewhere within the 10 to 14 minutes. If your dough is really cold, it'll take longer. But always check like a couple minutes before, because you want to catch these when the surface is still shiny and the cracks are starting to form. Okay, our chocolate fudge cookies are now done. As you can see, the tops are wonderfully nice and cracked, but they're still, you can see, there's still a little shine to them. So you really have to let these cool on the baking sheet on a wire rack, because they're really fragile right now. So I would say at least 10 minutes before you transfer them. Like I did a few test cookies, which you may want to do just to kind of get my baking time right. So this is what you're looking for. As you can see, these ones have cooled a little more. Very nice, cracked, still shiny, and yet when I break it open, you can still see it's really soft inside. That's what you're looking for. So these are wonderful, and they're at their best the day they are made. But you could cover them and store them at room temperature for several days, or you can even pop them in the freezer. So until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.